All right, it's the week before the final week of the NBA season, and we're back to share the Week 20 power rankings. Now, these are unique power rankings. These aren't the ones that you might be used to seeing. We take subjectivity out of the picture, and we only look at strength of schedule. Makes things a lot easier and a lot more interesting, in my opinion. Let's take a look at what happened in week 20. But before we do that, I'd like to give you an overview of how this process works for us. It's really easy. Every team in the Western Conference, and we really focus on the Western Conference for now. It's what we've been doing for the last 3 seasons. We might expand it later on, but for now, it's just the Western Conference. And we give teams points based on wins or losses and based on where that win or loss occurred and based on the quality of the team. Simple. A win at home against a quality team gets you 10 points. A loss on the road against a good team gets you 3. You can see how it works. There are 2 highlighted numbers here because if you lose at home to a bad team, that gets you 0 points, and that's flagged as a bad loss. A win on the road against a quality team gets you the most points possible, 11, and that's called a quality win. Those count a little more and cost you a little more. So we really want to call out those quality wins and those bad losses. What's important then is to know what's a quality team, what's a good team, what's a bad team, right? This is the way we split it up right now. We do it twice in the season. This season, we've done it 3 times. That's because there was a lot of variation. Specifically, the Memphis went from they're a good team now. And that's something that might not have been the case, or really wasn't the case at the start of the season. But these are the quality teams: the Jazz, the Blazers, the Nuggets, the Suns, the Mavs, the Clippers, and the Lakers. The good teams are the Spurs, the Warriors, and now the Grizzlies, the Rockets, the Timberwolves, the Kings, and the OKC Thunder. So now that you know how it works and you know where your team fits in the division, let's get right into the power rankings. Now, every season, or pardon me, not every season, but rather every video we've done so far, we combined 14 and 15 because it really didn't look like there was a lot of movement. But we did mention last week that the team at 14, which last week was the Timberwolves, were showing potential. They were winning games. And I'll give it away. It did move up. So we're really calling out Houston at the 15th spot. Hasn't moved in a while. Likely there to stay, but they lost their buddy. Minnesota Timberwolves, who were above them at 14 for a while, up. Oklahoma City Thunder dropped. That was thanks in large part to an 4 record this week. And like I mentioned, the Minnesota Timberwolves moved up. They had a 1-2 week deal, but good enough to move them above the Thunder, who again suffered through that 0-4 week. And I will also mention that the Thunder, as part of that 0-4 week, had a bad loss. Remember, a bad loss is a loss at home to a bad team. The Thunder lost to the Sacramento Kings in Oklahoma, and that really cost them. So Minnesota comes in at 13, moving up, which is good for them. The Pelicans come in at 12. The Pelicans had a 2-2 week. And certainly the Pelicans have a lot of concerns in terms of getting into that play-in tournament, which probably matters a lot more to them than these power rankings. But right now they're at 12. The Kings come in at 11. Now the Kings, we mentioned, beat the Thunder. The Kings are a very interesting team because if you look at this, the 12 and the 6 represent the quality wins and the bad losses for the Kings. The Kings, I shouldn't say by far. I was going to say by far have the most quality wins, but you can see the Pelicans have 11. But they have the most quality wins of the bottom tier, which is why they're at the top of the bottom tier. I've been saying all along about the Sacramento Kings, who went 3-1 in week 20. They're a good team. I think they might have to make a change in coaching. Apologies to Luke Walton fans. And they might need a little bit of stability in their front office. but they've got some really good pieces. And I've been saying that to anybody who's willing to listen for a while. I think the Sacramento Kings are going to be okay if their front office doesn't mess up the opportunity they've been given. They've got some really, really good pieces. Coming in at 10 are the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs, the team that will perpetually be good and dip their toes into the great waters from time to time. I doubt they'll ever be really bad. But it's tough. It's tough to be middle of the road, and that's where the Spurs are right now, coming in at 10 after they have a 1-3 week. You'll notice there was no change there between 12 and 9. Golden State Warriors coming in at 9. No movement at all. The Warriors had a 3-1 week. They seem to be primed and ready for that play-in tournament, which is going to be pretty interesting. As of today, they'd be playing the Los Angeles Lakers to get into that 7th spot, which would be super interesting. The Grizzlies come in at 8. This is the team that forced us for the first time ever to reevaluate our groupings. They were listed as bad, but they have been good, and credit to them. They had a 2-2 week. At the end of week 20, they were above 500 at 34-33. They're just playing good ball, and they have a really exciting player in Morant, who right now would go up against the San Antonio Spurs. And to me, that's a very interesting battle. The young team in Memphis against kind of the old grizzled veterans, if you will, for the San Antonio Spurs. Then we get into a team that did move, unfortunately for them, down, the Trailblazers. And actually, I mean, they had a good week. They were 3-1, but they dropped one spot. And that was really, less to do with, their performance and more to do with the team coming in at 6, because the percentage between these two is really, really, really small. And so the team that came in at 6, which are the Los Angeles Lakers, they moved up. They had one more game than the Blazers did. They went 2-2, but they beat quality teams both times. It wasn't on the road; it was at home. But those are those quality wins will give you a little boost. So the Lakers come in at 6, and playing pretty well, and have the momentum now, knowing that LeBron James is going to come back. They're going to be a very interesting team in that play-in tournament. Then we have a few other, the rest of them, they didn't move. The Dallas Mavericks, who were 4-0 with a quality win against the Miami Heat in week 20. We're at 5, rather. The Denver Nuggets at 4. They were 1-3. The Clippers were 2-1. And, sometimes look like world beaters, sometimes, look like the Clippers of last season. It'll be very interesting to see how things play out for the team from LA. Phoenix at number 2 after 2-2, week 20, where I'm guessing their spot is pretty solidified. I just get the sense that they're just waiting for the playoffs. Not that they're not taking these games seriously that they have left, but the last couple of times I've seen them, I didn't see the intensity or the passion that I've seen from this team in the past. And my feeling is they're just getting ready for the playoffs. We'll see. And, of course, number 1, again, the Utah Jazz. Utah Jazz had a 4-0 week. They're getting Donovan Mitchell back, and it'll be interesting. It is very wild to see Utah and Phoenix at the top. It's not what you're used to if you're a Western Conference fan, but it's really good to see those two teams that have been really good for, not Phoenix necessarily, but certainly the Jazz have been really good for a while. But to see them kind of break through and get that number 1 seed is pretty exciting in the standings as well as in our power rankings. Those are the week 20 power rankings. Next week is the final week of the season, and it's going to be pretty interesting to watch and see how things play out to see who ends up where, what that play-in tournament is going to look like. It all is going to be pretty interesting, pretty fascinating, and we'll be here one more week to give you week 21 final power rankings. As always, thanks for watching. We're the Peach Basket, a site dedicated to basketball really made for passionate basketball fans. That's who we are, and that's who we exist for. We'll talk next week.